Hello and welcome to this podcast from the BBC World Service. Please let us know what you think and tell other people about us on social media. Podcasts from the BBC World Service are supported by advertising.
You decided to upgrade your outdoor deck, so you ordered the essentials, a power washer, a set of patio chairs, and a shiny new grill. And you used your Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, choosing to earn 3% cash back on online shopping and up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member, which you put towards your most essential deck addition, a bird feeder. Apply for yours at bankofamerica.com/more rewarding. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Brought to you by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hello and welcome to the Witness History podcast from the BBC World Service. I'm Farhana Haither. After 9/11, Muslims across America had to cope with a horrifying increase in racism. According to the FBI, hate crimes against Muslims rose by 1,700% in 2001.
This is the latest in a spate of anti-Muslim attacks. A young man travelling at more than 80 miles an hour ploughed his car into the front door of the Grand Mosque in Cleveland, Ohio. Amazingly, no one was hurt. Throughout this state, Muslim businessmen are turning out the lights and leaving because they fear for their lives.
Overnight, Muslims found themselves having to prove they were patriots.
God bless America! God bless America!
The community did what it could to, we're Americans. We're Americans too. This is horrible. This does not define our faith.
This is Kevin James. He is a Muslim, and back in 2001, he was a member of the New York Fire Department. The first responders hailed as the heroes of 9/11.
It's a firefighter mentality. It's like you rush towards danger. You rush towards a fire. You rush into the building. That's how you're trained.
Kevin worked as a supervising fire marshal. He'd converted to Islam in 1977 when he was in his early 20s. He was also president of the Islamic Society of Fire Department Personnel. On September the 11th, he had a day off.
I had swapped my tours so I could be off on 9/11.
It's Tuesday, September 11th. It's primary day, and the polls are open in New York City. Giants lose their opener.
It was also primary day, and I was working to elect a Muslim candidate for the New York City Council. And I had taken the day off for that purpose. I think I would have worked the night tour that would have led into 9/11. So had I not taken the day off, I probably would have been working when the planes hit.
A plane apparently has crashed into the World Trade Center in New York. We go live.
Smoke is billowing out of the building from the upper floors of Tower 1. You can see the smoke for miles and miles. The plane...
At 8:46, American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:03, another hijacked passenger jet, United Airlines Flight 175, crashed into the South Tower, causing a devastating explosion. 56 minutes later, the South Tower collapsed, sending a massive pall of smoke across the city.
I had gone running, and all of a sudden, this ash had started falling from the sky. So I go, I'm thinking to myself, wow, this can't be good. I was running to go back to the house. Someone had told me that one of the World Trade Towers had collapsed.
Kevin went straight into work and headed for what became known as Ground Zero.
We left the base and we got on there's an elevated highway. It's called the Gowanus Expressway. It was absolutely deserted. There were no other cars on the expressway. I think we got down there right after the second collapse. I mean, we were like doing 80, 90 miles an hour on the Gowanus. When we got down there, there was debris everywhere. People were in shock. You had fire engines. These are big 10-ton, 20-ton vehicles just strewn about like little toys. These big shards of the trade tower, you could see the facade just sticking up. We had some paper masks that we carried with us. We put them on to help deal with the the ash, because if you weren't careful, you could just black out. I mean, it was one fellow, I think I knew him from the Bronx base. This was an African American. He was there when the collapse happened. He basically looked like he was in whiteface, covered head to toe in dust.
Kevin's team realised the disaster was so huge, there was little they could actually do.
You know, we had gone down there, it's like, yeah, we're going to help pull the rubble off and try to find people. No, we weren't going to do that. We didn't have the equipment. You could have had 50 people in one area. You're not going to move this debris.
And did you have any idea, Kevin, at that stage, how many firefighters, how many fire marshals had been killed? How many of your own had been killed?
No. We just knew it was bad.
In fact, 343 of Kevin's firefighting colleagues were killed on September the 11th, more than 10% of the overall loss of life. The attack was linked almost immediately to the Islamist terrorist group Al-Qaeda. And when you heard that, Kevin, what was your reaction? How did you feel?
It was a physical and emotional. I mean, I just sank in my chair. My heart sank. You know, I at the time I was active with the New York chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. We were starting to make progress in altering the perception of the Muslim community at that point. You know, I think we had about 8 candidates who identified as Muslim who were running for either city council. I think one person was running for borough president. We were looking to make gains and gain a political voice. So to hear this on a day that I had planned to poll watch on behalf of a Muslim candidate for city council, it was just a punch in the gut.
And it didn't take long for people to start questioning Kevin about his religion. He remembers a difficult conversation with a fire department colleague.
He was respectful. It was one-on-one. He wasn't trying to embarrass me. He could have done something in front of an audience, but no, he was more angry over the loss of his comrades, the people from his firehouse. He was so distraught that he said, "Is this in the Quran that this is acceptable?" I said, "No, the Quran holds life sacred. The killing of one person is like the killing of all of humanity. And no, the Quran does not condone this type of action."
In the days after 9/11, all over America, hate crimes against Muslims and anyone perceived to be Muslim soared. Stories about Muslim women in hijabs and Muslim men with beards being accosted in the street in revenge attacks became commonplace.
Anyone who looked Middle Eastern or South Asian were targets for their ire, whether they were Muslim or not. You could be Hindu or a Sikh or you have no relation to Islam and you would be attacked anyway.
49-year-old Balbi Singh Sodhi was shot at the petrol station he owned in Arizona. It proved to be the first of a frightening wave of hate crimes directed at anyone suspected of being a Muslim.
Nowadays, flying the flag is more than a show of patriotism. It's also a sort of insurance policy against those who would doubt their allegiance in these days of high emotion.
And Kevin, did you face discrimination? Were you subjected to hate crimes because of your religion?
Personally, I didn't feel targeted. I was clean-shaven. There was nothing that would identify me to anyone else as being Muslim. Nothing outwardly in my appearance would let on that I practice Islam.
But Kevin, did you know other Muslims who did experience discrimination?
Oh, yes. So, the if you're in the uniformed force, you're pretty well protected. The unions give you a lot of cover. The civilians, not so. And there are a couple of women civilian employees in my organization. Their boss didn't want them around anymore because of 9/11, and they were sent to another agency. I think they took a pay cut, and I felt horrible because there was nothing I could really do about it.
And these were Muslim women?
Yes, they were.
In an attempt to stave off more violence, President George W. Bush gave a speech at the Islamic Center of Washington on September the 17th. He made the distinction between Muslim Americans and the terrorists who had attacked the U.S.
Our Muslim friends and citizens, tax-paying citizens, and Muslims and nations were just appalled and could not believe what we saw on our TV screens. These acts of violence against innocents violate the fundamental tenets of the Islamic faith. And it's important for my fellow Americans to understand that.
I mean, I thought it was good. I wasn't a fan of President Bush. I didn't vote for him. But I thought he rose to the occasion. It's something that needed to be stated. His words were necessary and important. You know, these are Americans just like you and me. And those are powerful words coming from the president.
But not long afterwards, the Bush administration introduced the Patriot Act, which gave the government the power to monitor Americans with no probable cause. In New York, the police department created a surveillance team to specifically map Muslim communities. The program produced no leads on terrorist activities, but did cause lasting damage to the relationship between Muslim Americans and law enforcement.
You had the law enforcement response, which was to scoop up a large portion of the South Asian Muslim community. There's a large South Asian population, Desi, Pakistani, along Coney Island Avenue in Brooklyn. Downtown Brooklyn, there's a large Middle Eastern presence. There's a lot of mosques down there. So there are a lot of roundups and by police officers.
Kevin left the fire department nearly a year to the day after 9/11. He went on to study law at Columbia University in New York and to work in a coalition to prevent the erosion of constitutional and civil rights post 9/11, particularly in the areas of racial profiling, detainee rights and employment discrimination.
They made the Muslim community here in the States the scapegoat. So I think the takeaway is we need to have discourse, we need to have dialogue. I think 9/11 shut that down. But that kind of dialogue where you just make a lot of it is awareness. You know, it's like people can connect. So that's the kind of groundbreaking, that's the kind of interfaith dialogue you need to have where hey, look, we're not like this. And you start seeing the other people for who they are. If there is a silver lining to this very dark cloud that's 9/11, I would say that it's the need to have interfaith dialogue, both within the Muslim community and also dialogue with others outside the community.
Kevin James still lives in New York, from where he was speaking to me, Farhana Hyder, for this edition of the Witness History Podcast from the BBC World Service. And that's all from me for now. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Sometimes in history, myths become legends. For instance, George Washington Carver didn't actually invent peanut butter, and Marie Antoinette never said, "Let them eat cake." But here's a bit of history we know is true. State Farm has surprisingly great rates on car insurance, so you can get the coverage you need at an affordable price. And that's no myth. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
You decided to upgrade your outdoor deck, so you ordered the essentials, a power washer, a set of patio chairs, and a shiny new grill. And you used your Bank of America customized cash rewards credit card, choosing to earn 3% cash back on online shopping and up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member, which you put towards your most essential deck addition, a bird feeder. Apply for yours at bankofamerica.com/more rewarding. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.